What up, motherfuckers? It's the hater back again, and now for the first time in the history of the hater channel and the history of the internet, we're having the first ever episode of the Wednesday Night Wars, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about both AEW and NXT simultaneously. We're going to go segment by segment up in this bitch, and we're going to crown a winner. And we're going to keep a tally every week to see who is winning the Wednesday Night Wars according to the hater motherfuckers. You understand what I'm saying, cats? So, we start off with NXT. The first segment, before they even started, they had a thing that said, "Rest in peace, Shad Gaspard from Crime Time." Now, for those of you that don't know, Shad Gaspard's body was found, I think in LA. It washed ashore. He drowned. He was swimming with his son, and I guess a wave caught him. The son was saved, thank God. And unfortunately, Shad Gaspard died. Now, we make a lot of fun here on the Hater channel. You know, I always say that, the Street Profits are the new Crime Time. And let's make one thing clear. Angelo Dawkins could not lace Shad Gaspard's boots. Shad Gaspard was cool. Now, I'm not going to sit here and just pretend that he was like The Rock or anything like that. But Shad Gaspard had his role, and I enjoyed his singles push. And they were going to make him into a big deal. They decided not to. Shad Gaspard, my condolences to his family. It's very unfortunate. A lot of times, wrestlers die from things that could be attributed to themselves, like suicide or drug abuse or things like that, or the effects of drug abuse and steroid abuse. Not that that's less tragic, but it's especially tragic when someone just drowns. Man, that's fucked up. He was like 39 and he just drowned. You know what I mean? It's hard out there. Everyone stay safe. Don't swim out too far. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace to Shad Gaspard. I always liked you, man. So, the first segment of NXT starts. Killer Kross and Scarlett come out. Now, Scarlett is going crazy, and she's lip-syncing. I personally find this to be very cringy. Like, she's just so animated. Like, you would think that, like, Kane plus The Undertaker plus the Boogeyman is coming out. Like, everyone should be afraid of this guy. And out comes Killer Kross. Now, again, Killer Kross, there's something there in the context of, like, he's a bigger guy than usual, and he's not, like, super skinny or anything like that, but he's not this, like, insane guy either, you know what I mean? He comes out with crazy face, and he wrestles a jobber. This whole thing reminds me of Kevin Thorne, motherfuckers. Remember Kevin Thorne and Ariel? Except that was, in my opinion, way better done, because Ariel was, like, this creepy broad with vampire fangs, right? And Kevin Thorne, like, it was clear what he was. He was obviously a vampire. His name was Kevin Thorne, and he came dressed in black. He was also Mordecai back in the day. Understand what I'm saying? So I don't like this. I mean, I still don't. You know, the part of the lyrics to Killer Kross's theme song are "fall and pray." Right? What the fuck does "fall and pray" mean? Does that mean that you fell, like you got hurt, or you fell from the angel from the heavens, and then now you're praying? Like, this has like shitty WWE moniker written all over it. You know what I mean? They're going to try to get this over as his thing, right? I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the fact that it's in his theme song makes someone like Michael Cole say, Killer Kross makes them fall and pray there, Taz. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of shit that Michael Cole would say. You know what I mean? Like Randy Orton hears voices, you know, that kind of shit. Like, it's stupid, you know? It's overplayed and dumb, but it is what it is. Killer Kross came out, destroyed some jobber with one suplex, right? And then he did a horrible-looking sleeper hold. This was the worst sleeper hold I've ever seen in my life. Now, even if you like Killer Kross, you gotta give me credit here, motherfuckers. The sleeper hold was shit. It didn't even look like he was choking him. You know? I'm not saying choke the guy to death, but at least make it look real, right? Like, fucking, what's her face? Shayna Baszler makes it look real. Samoa Joe makes it look real. Dolph Ziggler makes it look real. Killer Kross, I guess, has his arms, like, way wide, right? He's putting no pressure on the guy, and the guy just passes out or taps out, one of the two. Gives a fuck, you know what I'm saying? I also would like an explanation as to what the hell is going on with these people. You know what I mean? Why are they going crazy? Why is Scarlett yelling and, like, making these, like, facial expressions like the devil himself is coming out? You know what I'm saying? What are they, right? If a character does not speak for themselves, a slight explanation is in order. You understand what I'm saying? Like, for example, if you take someone like Velveteen Dream, you don't have to explain what he is, right? He's just an eccentric guy, right? Like it's clear. You're like, oh, this is a guy, we've seen this before. This guy is the eccentric, like, you know, flamboyant type, right? And he does it really well, so you're like, okay, that's kind of cool. But we've seen a lot of Killer Krosses without explanations, and they've all failed. And we've seen a few that have explanations. right? And those are more likely to succeed, right? Like, this is no different than when, if anyone remembers, when Paul Heyman was managing Brock Lesnar and it was Team Brock versus Team Kurt Angle, right? And then Paul Heyman just brought up like Nathan Jones and Matt Morgan. And there was these two big guys, right? And they just got lost in the shuffle because they're just not that good. You know, there's nothing there. You didn't explain to me what they are. They're just, you literally just found two big guys, right? Whereas someone like A-Train, right? He kept going for a variety of reasons, but one of them was that he clearly had like a personality, right? What's Killer Kross's personality? I get it. He's supposed to be like a killer. He's supposed to be a dangerous guy, but everyone in WWE and wrestling in general is presented as a dangerous guy or a goof. So we get it. He's not a goof, but what is he? Like, what is Scarlett? Why does she come with him? Why does she act the way she does? Is she like a crazy broad? What's going on? Explain these things. This is how you make a character work. You don't just bring a guy with like an angry face and expect him to be anything more than the next Samoa Joe. This has Samoa Joe written all over it. You know what I'm saying? The fact that he has a girl that comes out with him doesn't mean much to your boy. But anyways, after that, Tommaso Ciampa comes out, and I'm actually happy to see him. This is a feud that makes sense. It's two crazy guys. The problem is that Tommaso Ciampa is crazier looking than Killer Kross. Like, I would rather get into a fight with Killer Kross. They both beat my ass, but I'd rather get into a fight with him because he doesn't look as crazy as Tommaso Ciampa. You understand what I'm saying? Tommaso Ciampa is the kind of guy that like is just intimidating by looking at him. You know what I mean? And Tommaso Ciampa is also good on the mic, so he comes out and he says, "Yeah, we're gonna have a fight at the fucking pay-per-view, whatever the fuck it's called, right?" I didn't like this at all overall because, in my opinion, Killer Kross, this was an opportunity. Karrion Kross. It would have been a good opportunity to have him destroy Tommaso Ciampa, like beat him severely, like dedicate 5 minutes to him just beating the shit out of Tommaso Ciampa so that I can think to myself, okay, that's what he is. He's a guy that has zero mercy. You know what I'm saying? He sees an opponent and just beats the shit out of him. And after he beats the shit out of him with like weapons and stuff, he puts him in the sleeper hold. You make this sleeper hold look much more realistic. And then Tommaso Ciampa just passes out. And then after he passes out, Killer Kross hits him with a chair again or something, right? To just show that this guy's sadistic. But all I saw was a guy beating a jobber and then getting into a match with Tommaso Ciampa, right? Like, how is this any different than any other bad guy? You know, this is very generic. I'm sorry to say, motherfucks. However, on AEW, at the first segment, we had Dean Ambrose versus 10 from the Dark Order. 10 comes out with Brody Lee. Luke Harper cuts a shitty promo and is boring as hell. And he talks about how, like, you know, he's like not a god. Like, the fuck, nobody established that you're awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop pretending you are, you know? So, meanwhile, while he's talking, the AEW wrestlers are just yelling nonsense. It's very annoying and distracting. If it were the fans, it'd be one thing, but these are wrestlers. Like, why are they so invested, you know? So, Moxley versus 10. Moxley beats the shit out of him, hits the paradigm shift. Nothing to see here. Obviously, Moxley was going to win. I mean, that's like Wrestling 101, right? So, I give both these segments like the same score, like basically 0, like nothing was added from this, you know what I mean? Like, and they're both in very similar situations where they're both building up for the pay-per-view, right? Now, which build-up was better? Neither, really. Like, nothing really happened. Nothing was advanced here. Nothing was furthered, you know what I mean? I know people are hot on Killer Kross, but like, until I see something in WWE from him, then I'm not convinced. All I see now is just like a generic heel, you know? Again, I'm keeping my eyes open, my options open. I'm keeping my options open for 10 as well, you know? I always keep my options open, and I keep my opinions open, and I'm very, in my opinion, very open-minded. But I need to see something, and today, I saw nothing from this. Next up, on AEW, we had Marco Stunt versus MJF, another predictable bullshit match. Before the match started, JR took a moment to eulogize Shad Gaspard, which I thought was very classy. They did not have to do this. Shad Gaspard is not this like legendary wrestler, but they did it anyways, and JR said some kind words about him, which I enjoyed. MJF beats Marco Stunt with the salt of the earth, and literally not one person gives a flying fuck. The Jurassic Express comes out, right? And they have like a stare down for the 15th week in a row. I'm supposed to be excited about Wardlow versus Luchasaurus. I like Wardlow, but I'm not really sold on Luchasaurus yet until he takes off the mask and does his inevitable heel turn, you know? Then on NXT, segment 2 was the Incognito tournament is happening again. Was one of these guys named Incognito? Or was this the Incognito tournament? Because I didn't recognize one person in here, motherfucks. So it was Tozawa versus El Hijo de Fantasma, right? First of all, if you want to get drunk really quickly, here's a drinking game for you. Watch an NXT match that involves El Hijo de Fantasma and think about how many times Mauro Ranallo says El Hijo de Fantasma and drink then. You'll be drunk within the match, motherfuckers, because every other word out of Mauro's mouth was El Hijo de Fantasma, right? I don't see it at all with this guy. To me, he looks like and operates like Grand Metalik. I don't understand why you couldn't just not fire people like Drake Maverick, don't sign El Hijo de Fantasma, and then put Grand Metalik in his spot. Like, are we to believe that El Hijo de Fantasma is any better than Grand Metalik? Absolutely not. Why would he be? I mean, as a matter of fact, I think Grand Metalik is honestly better because like the match that he had at the pay-per-view, the tag match, was awesome. You know, he did all these crazy things. El Hijo de Fantasma does fucking nothing. He did the arrow from the depths of hell, which is his suicide dive, which is usually really good. This time his knee hit the rope and it looked like shit, right? They get back in the ring. Tozawa gets an octopus on him, and Fantasma hits him with the Phantom Driver. The Phantom Driver is the same fucking thing as the Metalik Driver. So there you go, motherfuckers. All you've done is take a guy that looks like Grand Metalik, wrestles like him, doesn't speak English like him, and has the same finisher. So what the fuck was the point of this? I don't see it at all. You know, I'm tired of them like hiring luchadors, right? And hiring like people that were luchadors and taking their mask off, right? All these people will never become anybody. You're never going to recreate what you did with Rey Mysterio. It's just not feasible. Rey Mysterio has other qualities. First of all, he looks like $1 million, you know? He's jacked, he's got tattoos, and his mask is cool. 2, Rey Mysterio, back then, did things that no one else was doing. If you have 15 luchadors, it's not as impressive, motherfuckers, because they're all doing it. 3, Rey Mysterio could speak English. 4, Rey Mysterio is very likable. He's just likable because he was he's still around, but he was around in a time when there were a lot of people that could have great matches with him and that could work with his style that were not like him, right? Like all these people are going to be just a bunch of Chavo Guerreros, except not as good as Chavo Guerrero. So I don't see the point of Grand Metalik. No one gives a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Next up on NXT, we had Mia Yim versus a jobber. I think it was Santana Garrett. I don't remember, to be honest, right? Mia Yim wins, and then she's harassed by the Garganos. Keith Lee comes to save her. So I guess that sets up Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano at the pay-per-view. And when I say I guess that, I know that because they announced it later on. But when I saw this, I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've seen in my life. Keith Lee would beat the shit out of Johnny Gargano. If you had 5 Johnny Garganos versus 1 Keith Lee, I think I would take Keith Lee. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, Johnny Gargano is like 130 pounds. Keith Lee is like 320 at least and is a beast. And he can move and he's fast and he's strong. So just to present these two as anywhere near equal is ridiculous. The same kind of thing happened with Tommaso Ciampa and Killer Kross, right? Killer Kross is about a foot taller than him. Actually, when I said Tommaso Ciampa would beat my ass, I'm not sure. He might be like 5'5". You know what I'm saying? I have no idea. But Killer Kross was like substantially bigger than him. But at least that's a little bit more feasible because Ciampa is like jacked, right? He's very muscular. He's very vascular. And Killer Kross isn't as big or strong as Keith Lee. So, you know, or as good in the ring, or as charismatic, or as anything. I don't know what the big deal about Killer Kross is. You know, we have much better people in NXT. Nonetheless, segment 3 of AEW was Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts having a sit-down moment. Arn just incorrectly states that a match between the two of them would be a dream match. LOL, motherfucks. In what world is this a dream match? Arn Anderson was always like Ric Flair's buddy. That's what he was. He was never this like big star. In order to have a dream match, you need to have first 2 powerful entities. They can be a singles wrestler, a tag team. Sometimes it can be like a stable, like the Shield and the Wyatt family, right? They have to have similar paths of success, right? And then within that, they have to eventually wrestle each other. That's why people say like Taker and Sting is a dream match, right? In my opinion, Shawn Michaels and Sting is a bigger dream match, right? Some people might argue that Young Bucks versus The Revival is a dream match, right? Because they've had similar paths in the sense that they've both been held down, right? They have good matching styles. Like their styles are different, but they match well together, right? And their gimmicks make sense. You know, Arn Anderson, a tag guy, the enforcer of the 4 Horsemen, like he was not, I mean, I guess he was the number 2, but he was like the way below number 2, right? It would be like Road Dogg, like, I don't know. Like, imagine if Road Dogg and Bull Buchanan never wrestled, right? And then Bull Buchanan and Road Dogg met 10 years from now, and Road Dogg is like, this would be a dream match. No, it wouldn't. No one gives a fuck about Bull Buchanan, you know what I'm saying? Now, I know Jake the Snake is better than Bull Buchanan, but Jake the Snake, like, first of all, these guys are like 75,000 years old, you know what I'm saying? So this match happening is just an insult, in my opinion, right? It is an insult. Like, if people get mad, Like, anyone that likes AEW that gets mad that Goldberg steals the spot of, like, Dolph Ziggler, right? They should be furious that Jake the Snake, who can barely move, and Arn Anderson, who has the face of a drunk, he has that red drunk face, that these people are going to have a match. This will be the worst match in wrestling history, and Dave Meltzer will give it like 3 stars. You understand what I'm saying? This is garbage. This is not supposed to happen. During this segment, they reveal that Mike Tyson will be there to present the mid-card jobber belt to either Cody Rhodes or Lance Archer. And for some reason, Arn Anderson is like, if Mike Tyson's here, are you going to throw something at him? What the fuck? Like, when was this established? Like, that Jake the Snake doesn't like Mike Tyson, right? And Jake's like, whatever I throw at him, he's not going to be able to, like, get up from it, right? And I'm like, dude, Mike Tyson, like, if all 4 of those people, like Cookie Rhodes, Lance Archer, Jake the Snake Roberts, Arn Anderson, the referee, Brandy, Cody's dog, Nyla Rose, if all those people were to fight Mike Tyson in a gauntlet match, the gauntlet match would be a cumulative 45 seconds because he would knock out all those people and the dog in about 2 seconds each. Like, someone, like, to even suggest that Jake the Snake Roberts at any given point in his life would have a chance against present day Mike Tyson is preposterous. It is so ridiculous. Archer, who's a big, strong guy, here's what would happen. He would go after Mike Tyson. Mike would just punch him once, and that'd be the end of that. He'd be in the hospital, right? It's a different game, motherfuckers. Boxing is a different animal than anything, even than MMA. You know, don't be confused by, oh, James Toney went to MMA and Randy Couture beat him. Yeah, James Toney went there, like, way past his prime, and James Toney was not one of the best boxers of all time. And Randy Couture is one of the best MMA fighters of all time. But if you had Mike Tyson there, like, if you had Mike Tyson, like, imagine, prime Mike Tyson versus Francis Ngannou. Mike Tyson would end his career in 13 seconds. It would be the end of that. We'd never hear about it again. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be even close. So that's what I gotta say about that, motherfuckers. So yeah, that happened. It's not clear whether it's gonna be Jake versus Arn in the pay-per-view, but it sure as shit looks like it. This was not good. Next up, segment 4, I guess we'll call it, in AEW was Darby Allin vignette. It was just a Darby Allin vignette. He's playing cards, then he burns something, then he's on fire, and then he's going to be in the ladder match. He's probably going to win, and he should. Everyone else there is a jobber that has no business of even winning anything, except for maybe Rey Fenix, but even so, Darby Allin should win that match. Next up, we had one of my favorite segments of the night. We had Rockstar Spud, who says, actually, this was my favorite segment of the night. I was confusing with another one. Rockstar Spud comes out and says he needs to beat Kushida because otherwise he's gone. In the context of the fact that he was fired, this adds some gravitas to it, right? Because I'm like, oh, poor guy, he's going to get fired. You know, like, they obviously taped this before, right? Otherwise, they talk about him getting fired. So there you go, motherfuckers. Or maybe they wouldn't. Who the fuck knows, right? But there you go. Knowing that just makes it more special. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't, like, fired before this. Who knows? Next up, the Undisputed Jobbers come out, and it's going to be Roderick Strong versus the awesome, underrated, and in my opinion, one of the best people by far in NXT. He might be number 1. Like, it's either him or Velveteen Dream. Dexter Lumis, motherfuckers. Dexter Lumis. This guy is awesome. I will explain to you right now why he's awesome, and I'm going to compare him to Killer Kross. First of all, he has a better look than Killer Kross. He's a more handsome guy, right? He has a better haircut because he has hair, right? He has like the little pedo stash, which is consistent with his gimmick, right? He wrestles like his gimmick would suggest. I'll get into that more in a bit, right? He has like full sleeves of tattoos. Killer Kross has some badass tattoos too, but this guy's got full sleeves, and one of the sleeves is a cover-up. It's just black, right? This is not like this. He looks like a guy that is not mentally stable, and that's exactly his gimmick. And he wrestles like that. That's why Dexter Lumis is awesome. Like, I'm gonna put him in my top 5 of wrestlers right now in all brands, in all shows, right? So I was hoping that Dexter Lumis would win. However, I was not upset that he didn't win. You know what I'm saying? There was an awesome spot where Roderick Strong has him on the ropes, and Roderick goes to run towards the other ropes, but turns around momentarily, and Dexter Lumis just like stares at him, and Roderick Strong is scared, so he falls down. This was great. It's consistent with his character, like I said, right? What else? Then after that, Roderick Strong eventually wins the match. He goes for like the stronghold, which is a Boston Crab, but then he twists. It was pretty cool. He twisted Dexter Lumis like around and pinned him. Typically, this is something that the guy that's taking the Boston Crab might do, like a Shelton Benjamin Boston Crab Walls of Jericho counter to a pin. But Roderick Strong beat him with his mind, right? This was awesome. This match was great. It told an actual story. The story here was this: you are not going to beat Dexter Lumis, right? by hurting him. That's just not going to happen. This guy's too fucking insane for that, right? So you have to beat him. You have to, like, outmaneuver him, basically, right? Like, Dexter Lumis, because of his gimmick, this is why he's great. Because he wrestles like his gimmick, right? He's not like Finn Balor, who's a demon and just jumps off of the turnbuckle. He is a guy who stands his ground, right? Like there was many times when Roderick Strong would try to do like a single leg takedown, and Dexter Lumis, even though he could like do other things, he would just stay there, right? And he would try to like forcefully counter it because it's consistent with how he wrestles. He wrestles like a guy that doesn't really know how to wrestle almost. He just knows how to like be a savage, right? That's the impression that I get from this. So how do you beat this guy? You're not going to be able to knock him out, presumably, right? You're not going to be able to make him tap out because he's insane. So what do? You do like a quick little pin that no one expects. And who's a good wrestler to do that? Roderick Strong, because he's great in terms of like the technical things that he does, right? This was great. Roderick Strong gets his win, which I didn't agree with, but it was perfect because right after that, Dexter Lumis slides out of the ring. He like slithers out of the ring and puts the kata gatame on, which is his finisher, on Roderick Strong and just holds it there, right? Just putting him to sleep. Bobby Fish and Adam Cole come out, right? And they start attacking Dexter. This was awesome. They start attacking Dexter Lumis. Like, Bobby Fish is kicking his head, and Dexter Lumis just won't let go. You know? Like, he doesn't give a fuck. He just won't let go. And during the match, when Roderick Strong was chopping him, like, Maranello was like, it looks like Dexter Lumis enjoys this, right? So think about that. Think about this as a character, right? You don't need to explain to me. Like, nobody ever said that Dexter Lumis is this, like, psychopathic type guy who is kind of like Dexter from the TV show. No, it's self-evident. His name is Dexter Lumis, right? He looks like a creep. He has dead eyes. His music reflects what he is, unlike Killer Kross, where it's just like pestilence. What the fuck? What does that mean, right? His music is eerie and unsettling, and it reflects him, right? Then he no-sells things that would break up a submission, right? I don't need to know anything more about Dexter Lumis. I get what he is, right? This is a lost art in wrestling, right? Kurt Angle, people like that, like where you just see, you're like, I get what he is. He's this Olympic wrestler who thinks he's a good guy, but he's actually a dick, right? It's self-evident. Same thing with Dexter Lumis. Same thing with Velveteen Dream. Speaking of Velveteen Dream, Adam Cole like goes back to try to do the last shot on Dexter Lumis, but Velveteen Dream attacks him from behind and saves his ass, beats up Bobby Fish. Roderick Strong is already out from the kata gatame, right? He super kicks Adam Cole to the outside, like beyond the barricades. Then he climbs the top turnbuckle and delivers an edited but awesome Purple Rainmaker. That was just great. They edited it, so it is what it is. But still, it was cool because like if he did that in real life, he would break his hip, right? So he did it to the outside, and then he comes back. Meanwhile, Dexter Lumis is just still sitting there in the same position. If anyone watches Animal Kingdom, right, which is a great show, Dexter Lumis reminds me of the character Pope. You know what I'm saying? He's just like that. Like, that's why I like him, maybe, right? So then, Dexter Lumis is just sitting there with, like, Roderick Strong passed out. And even though this was already an awesome scene, Velveteen Dream climbs, like, the steel steps and leans against the post of the turnbuckle. Like, he's about to die because of the elbow drop he did. But he still has enough energy. This is why Velveteen Dream is great. It's the little things. He rips his shirt, right? Revealing a little tank top like he sometimes wears. And then he strikes a pose, right? While leaning on the post for leverage because he's about to pass out, right? It was great. And then Maranello is like the likeliest alliance ever, or the oddest couple ever. This was awesome. A+ segment in my opinion, right? That was segment 4. What do we have for AEW segment 4? Did we talk about that yet, motherfuckers? Yeah, we did. So while we're here though on the AEW list, segment 5, Ray Phoenix versus Orange Cassidy. This was another Tom and Jerry match where fucking that idiot Orange Cassidy just does his stupid ass ridiculous spots. And it made me think, anyone that didn't like Santino because of the same shit has to hate Orange Cassidy. Consistency, motherfucks. And I know a lot of smarts who are like, oh, Santino's taking away a spot from Daniel Bryan. What about Orange Cassidy? He's even worse than Santino. At least Santino was like tongue-in-cheek. It was supposed to be like, oh, Santino's just like a goof, and you want him to get his ass kicked, right? So like, he does that goofy shit, and then you still want him to get his ass kicked, even if he's a face. So, one notable moment in this match was Ray Phoenix, who apparently is very weak, tries to lift up Orange Cassidy for a powerbomb. Fails. Holds on to him. Tries it again. Orange Cassidy obviously helps, and he gets him to the powerbomb. This, however, and then he bounces him off the ropes in powerbomb position for a slingshot powerbomb. But then Orange Cassidy turns this into a code red. This sounds good, but it was shit because every part of it was botched. The powerbomb lift was botched. The spot against the ropes was botched. The code red was basically botched, and the kick out, which in my opinion didn't happen from Rey Fenix, was also botched. This was just like 4 botches in a row. If anyone in WWE did this, people would be like, they don't know how to wrestle. But whatever. They did it in AEW, so it's cool, I guess, motherfucks. Right? After that, Phoenix does some cool moves. He has a lot of cool moves. I like Phoenix. He has a lot of cool moves. Then Kip Sabian comes out, climbs the ladder that was there because they're all going to be part of the casino ladder match. And he distracts Orange Cassidy and the referee enough for Phoenix to hit a low blow and do like a rolling jump cutter and pin him 1, 2, 3, right? Then a bunch of people come out, including the best friends, Colt Cabana, all these other people that are going to presumably be in the casino ladder match. Not the best friends, but everyone else. And they start doing dives to the outside, right? The first one was Rey Fenix does an awesome dive. He hesitates when doing it because he understands that the 4 or 5 jobbers outside don't know what he's going to do. He does it anyways, misses. He kicks them a little bit, quote unquote. He misses, falls on his back like an asshole because these people didn't want to catch him because they're retards, right? So that's what happened in segment 5 on AEW, which brings us to segment 5 of NXT, motherfucks. We had El Hijo de Fantasma giving props to Akira Tozawa, right? They have a nice little exchange. It was endearing because one of them speaks Spanish, the other one speaks Japanese, and Akira Tozawa speaks a little bit of English. So they kind of like got the point across. And then, he gave him props. He's like, I like you, Akira. I respect you, right? Great Metalik gets back in his car, and Akira Tozawa is attacked by those 2 masked men. Now, obviously, the reveal is going to be that these 2 masked men are people that are working for El Hijo de Fantasma. I hope it's not that because that's like too predictable. But whatever, it is what it is. So which brings the question of, why not just have Great Metalik do this, right? And then have those 2 guys be Lucha House Party heel turn, right? Whatever. I'm just saying, though, maybe this is going to go somewhere. Who the fuck knows? Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's someone else. Maybe it's Kushida. Who the fuck knows, right? So that happened. And then, yeah, I guess that was segment 5. Segment 6 of NXT was it Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan come out, and they wrestled Everrise, who we've seen a few times in NXT. Burch and Lorcan are awesome. They win the match with like a tandem submission. Like one does a submission to one guy, and then the other guy comes in and does a submission to the other guy. They tap. And then they kind of like do a challenge to Imperium. That's going to be a sick match. Imperium versus these 2 guys is going to be awesome because like Burch and Lorcan they're just great. They're just hard hitting. These 2 like clear tough guys. Like, you can tell they're just tough dudes, right? Them and then Marcel Bartel wrestles the same way, like that European style. And then Fabian Eichner does all this high flying shit sometimes. So that's going to be an awesome match. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, but Hater, how is it that you like Burch and Lorcan, right? How can that be, right? You don't like people with no character, and that's true, motherfucks, except for when the people with no character accept they have no character. These people have accepted that they are generic tough guys, and they wrestle like generic tough guys, right? They're unlike the Revival, for example, who had the same exact gimmick. They're just two generic tough guys who have like a hard-hitting style, right? But then the Revival expects more. They want to do promos and these things that they don't need to do. And believe me, if Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch start doing promos and start having these verbal exchanges, I will turn on them too if they start pretending they have a character. No, their character is very simple. Both these guys had a feud with each other. They both wrestled in a very similar fashion. And as a result, they get along based on their toughness. Simple as that. And they're fun to watch. Oni Lorcan does that running and running, spinning, jumping European uppercut. It just looks like he's being shot out of a cannon. I love this guy. And Danny Burch is cool too. After they fired him the first time around, I always wanted them to give him a shot because he seems like a hardworking dude. He's in great shape. Both these guys just look like tough guys. You know what I'm saying? I like them a lot. Segment 6 on AEW, motherfucks. The Statlander broad and Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose and Britt Baker. This is the first time we've seen Nyla Rose in about 17 months. Now, this might be because of the coronavirus. I don't know. Who the fuck cares? But she was in the audience last time. But she's a champion. And the champion should defend the title. It's as simple as it gets. They keep talking about how Hikaru Shida is due a title shot. She's been number 1 for 8 months. You know what I'm saying? How come she doesn't get a title shot? It's fucking weird. Nobody, at this point, Hikaru Shida should get a title shot. She shouldn't be superseded in the rankings by anyone because she's been in the, number 1 forever. You know what I'm saying? So there you have it. Nonetheless, Nyla and Britt win. And after the match, Hikaru Shida puts Nyla through a table, which was all right. She did a superplex. That was all right. Segment 7 of AEW, which was the worst segment by far of both shows, was Sean Spears doing Sean Spears news. He said Goldust has retired. This was lame. Now, I will admit that if this turns out to be a segment where he just like throws out fake news all the time, that's a little funny, you know. But this was very reminiscent of the Randy Orton segments back in the day, the Randy News Network, right? And also, it's very reminiscent of La Resistance and their, you know, fucking like news vignettes, right? This has been done 1,000 times. Sean Spears has been on TV. This was garbage. This guy, I get it. You want to prove a point that this guy was better than he was in WWE. You failed to prove that point. Then he was doing like some tag team searching, and then I don't know what the fuck happened to that. Maybe you'll find out if you tune into AEW Dark. You know what I'm saying? But I don't, so they can kiss my fat ass. You know what I'm saying? Next up, we had Hardy, Matt Hardy, obviously, versus Sammy Guevara. How can anyone give a fuck about this? Obviously, Matt Hardy wins with a twist of fate, and then everyone, including Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, maybe not Sammy Guevara, I think Sammy Guevara goes too, but the rest of them go to the stadium and they have a brawl with the Inner Circle, who has kidnapped Kenny Omega and is beating him with a bat. Eventually, Adam Page just runs from the little exit area. I don't know why they didn't plant him like off camera, so he just appears out of nowhere. But you see him running around the field, and then he runs down the field. The fact that he did this is silly because obviously in real life you wouldn't take the long way there, right? I get it. What they were trying to do is show him like run the field. That's why you plant him behind there, right? But even so, it wasn't too bad, just because of the fact that like Adam Page would do something like that, right? He would take the long way and close on someone. It's consistent with how he behaves, like this recklessness, like this, like I'm gonna gain momentum by running type of shit, you know? It sells his finisher, the buckshot lariat, a little bit. The segment overall, I didn't like. It's a generic wrestling segment of a brawl to end the show before the pay-per-view. It's kind of silly. So now let's go back to NXT. NXT, we had segment 7. This was awesome too. Aside from the Dexter Lumis thing, this segment was awesome as well. It was Kushida versus Drake Maverick. I really like this. Drake Maverick is a very, very likable guy. I've said this in the past. I like him a lot. He's also the same size as Kushida. And I don't know why someone might argue that Kushida is a better wrestler than Drake Maverick. I don't think he is. So with that being said, I don't know why Drake Maverick isn't the one that has a job and they don't release Kushida, if I'm being honest. But it is what it is, motherfuckers. So of course, I thought that this meant that Kushida would lose. That Drake Maverick would lose. However, I lied, motherfuckers. He didn't lose. What happened was he won with a bullshit pin, right? Which was great because it keeps the hope alive. Now, if he hadn't gotten fired, right? Or if we somehow, like, if there was any chance that he'd get the job back, that would be fucking awesome. Like, if, for example, they fired him, he had that emotional thing that he put on YouTube or whatever, right? Which was very heartfelt and made him even more likable, in my opinion, right? And then you have him, and like he thinks he's getting fired in real life, then he wins this, and you make him Cruiserweight Champion. That would be amazing. I like Drake Maverick a lot. I mean, I can't overstate how much I like this guy. Like, he's charismatic, he's charming, he's good in the ring, he's a handsome guy. He's like 5'2", but he's a handsome guy, right? And like he does what they tell him to do. I don't understand, I don't understand how anyone that understands wrestling would ever prefer to have Kushida on the roster over Drake Maverick. Kushida's one-dimensional. At most, he'll be Nakamura. That's it. That's at most, right? More likely than not, he'll be Akira Tozawa. Whereas, motherfucks, Drake Maverick has other tools, right? He can be a manager like we've seen him before. He can be an announcer. He can be a lot. He can be a referee. He can be an authority figure. There's a lot more that Drake Maverick brings to the table than Kushida. But it is what it is. What can we say, motherfucks? Then we have the main event, Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley. I watched part of this. This actually was not bad. I mean, like, I'm not going to say it was great, but it was good. I especially like the fact that Io Shirai, who I think is the best wrestler, right, from Japan in a long time. Like, I think she's better than Tozawa. I think she's better than fucking Nakamura. I think she's better than Asuka and the other girl. She's awesome. Io Shirai is great. She likes Rey Mysterio. She does the 619 and then does like a half-ass springboard where she like climbs into the second rope, then springboards to the third rope because she's short and not as athletic as Rey Mysterio, obviously, and does like a drop kick. That's like one of her moves. I really like Io Shirai. I thought that Rhea Ripley was going to win, and she probably would have, but Charlotte comes out and beats the shit out of them both. Not a good ending, not a particularly great segment, but better than we've seen before. I'd rather see Io Shirai than Dakota Sky if I had to. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather see Io Shirai than Hikaru Shida. I'd rather see Io Shirai than Nyla Rose. I'd rather see Io Shirai than basically any female wrestler out there right now. I like Io Shirai. So, with that being said, we are not going to score the segments individually, and the reason for that is this. Because some segments, like I have here 8 segments from each show, right? That's how I count. I didn't do it on purpose. That's how I count them. But some of the segments are like Darby Allin vignette, right? So like which segment is that? Let's see, motherfucks. That would be segment number 4, right? Segment number 4 in NXT is like the match between Dexter Lumis and Roderick Strong. So it wouldn't be a fair direct comparison. So we're gonna give overall scores, right, to the show. NXT definitely wins. This was a great episode of NXT. I watched it first and I enjoyed it. AEW I watched second, right? Like I started it a little bit earlier, like with the fact that I DVR'd them, right? But I ended NXT right when it actually ended, and then I watched AEW immediately because that's just how it turned out. And when I started watching AEW, I was like, I can't wait till this shit's over. Like, there's nothing good about this, man. Like, I did not enjoy. Honestly, I didn't enjoy one segment in AEW. In my opinion, this was one of the weakest episodes of AEW ever. Like, what was there to look forward to? Like, I mean, Dean Ambrose appearance, I guess, because he hasn't been around. And Arn Anderson, Jake Roberts, that was garbage. None of it was good. None of it was good. None of it. None of it at all. Whereas NXT, I'm not gonna say NXT was great, but it was a good episode of NXT. It had some great moments. Like it had my opinion, one of the best segments I've seen in a long time. The Dexter Lumis, Roderick Strong, and Velveteen Dream one, along with Undisputed Era. That was incredible. The Rockstar Spud match was great because of the implications that it could have held, right? And then we had like some decent segments. Like we had the Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley segment was decent, right? El Hijo de Fantasma versus Tozawa was all right. Like it wasn't anything special or anything like that, but it was what it was. I mean, like, did I miss that? Did I miss taking notes on that? I think that happened, right? Tozawa, yeah. Tozawa versus, an Incognito Battle Royal, or tournament as I called it. And then we had Killer Cross, that segment, which, I mean, again, I'm not sold on Killer Cross, but insofar as an opening segment, it was a better segment than Dean Ambrose versus 10. Because even though I don't think Killer Cross is this great wrestler, Killer Cross I think is better than Dean Ambrose. You know, that's not a very high standard for me, but I think he's better than Dean Ambrose. I'd rather see him than Dean Ambrose. So, and at least he has the flashy entrance or something there, you know. Listening to Brody Lee talk makes me want to kill myself. So as a result, AEW loses severely to NXT this week. I actually enjoyed watching them both, only because I could do this video and talk shit, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I'm going to leave right now. And I just want to say one more time, rest in peace to Shad Gaspard. That's a very unfortunate circumstance, motherfucks. So stay safe and don't get cut. You know what I'm saying?